Ho, baby. What is up, Buffalo
Yes.
Fanatics? Sunday morning, 11:30 a.m. It is officially game day. NFL Week 9. Our Buffalo Bills are at MetLife Stadium to take on the New Jersey Jets for their second divisional game of the year, their first against those said Jets, and we are here to preview it all right here on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel. Z-Bot here with you, of course, and then up top, my main men.
What's up, baby?
Ev Harrington and the legend who sold out of his wings yesterday. They're that good. Rated Rev, my main man, Rev Rhodes.
What's up, baby? What's up?
Got to open up with that, Rev. So yesterday, for those who don't know, Rev does his incredible food truck with his burgers and his wings and his fries. He's got the whole thing. And I'm scrolling Facebook yesterday. And just to go to show you how good these Rated Rev wings are, my man sells out yesterday. So talk to me, Rev.
Yeah.
How busy was it for you yesterday, and how were the people loving that little southern touch of those wings?
Oh, dude. So yeah, man. I appreciate that. Appreciate the love, man. The wings went by quick. Matter of fact, they went in one fell swoop. So we had opened up. We opened up yesterday evening, and one guy came in and he was like, "Yo, how many wings do y'all have?" I said, "Well, let me count it." And he said, "I'm about to put y'all to work." And so I'm like, "Hey, that's what we're here for, baby." And so we told him how many we had, and he was like, "I want them all."
Wow,
that was it.
One guy bought them all.
One guy wiped us out. Wiped us completely out.
For those who don't know, that was me. I sent a secret operative. I had that guy buy all of Rev's wings. He's gonna freezer ship them to me up here.
Yeah,
that's how good those things are.
Yeah, wings. Yeah, man, wings are phenomenal, dude. They go out quick, man.
I love it. Well, hey, speaking of things that are going to get gobbled up today and might get out quick, those New York Jets. The Bills are at MetLife today.
Yes,
they
sir.
are, depending on the book that you're looking at, if you're a gambling man, anywhere from 11.5 to 13-point favorites today. Of course, the Bills are expected to dominate. Now, you look at the records, and that's the kind of crazy thing about where we're at right now in the NFL. So later on tonight, 8:30 p.m., the Sunday night game, Chiefs-Titans. Those are two winning teams. The Chiefs are double point or 10-plus point favorites in that one. And then the Bills today against the Jets, they're 10-plus point favorites in that one. So it just goes to show you how deceiving records have been early on here and how top-heavy the league really has become midway through the season. Let's start with you, Rev. Going into this one, and I like to kind of dissect everybody's feelings going into it. And obviously, when you go into a game like against the Chiefs, your feelings are going to be a lot different than, say, playing a game like today, where it's the Jets and the Bills have, obviously been the superior team the last several seasons. So going into this one about an hour and a half before kick, where are you at mentally? How do you feel about this game overall?
I feel great about this game, like fantastic. And I want to say this to a lot of Bills Mafia, not everybody, but I've seen some people pop up on Twitter and the mentions that are concerned. Okay. Like legit concerned, like, and I'm like, yo, why are we so concerned? Let me tell you this. This is not the drought era Bills. This is not that team. So do not revert back to being drought era fans where we're concerned and scared about certain teams and trap game this and trap game that, and all we need to watch out for. Look, this team is different this year. Completely different. They had to endure 13 seconds all off season. They had to endure the whole Jags fiasco last year. They went through it all off season. And this team right now is playing on fire. You can tell it's a difference in their attitude. They've got different dogs on the squad. They have not forgotten about what happened last year. They're not sleeping on anybody. I understand you have to respect teams. I get that. But this team, this Bills team, is not sleeping on anybody. And instead of us being concerned about the Jets, how about we flip that on the Jets? They should be concerned about us.
Oh, you ain't
We are first place in the AFC right now, 6-1, going into MetLife Stadium to host the Jersey Jets, not the New York Jets, but the Jersey Jets, who have to face the big dogs. This is like the big brother facing against the little brother. We're going to put them in the noogie, man. We're going to put them in the headlock and give them a little noogie like that and slap them upside the head and push them on their way. This team, I get it. The Jets have a good defense. That defense is the only thing that's been keeping them this far. Yeah. But how long can they stop Josh Allen in this offense? You look at Green Bay Packers game last week. Do you think that's going to happen again in the second half? Absolutely not. So they better make sure they're ready for this Bills team this week, because I guarantee you, the Bills, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, all the other guys on this squad, Von Miller, they are not playing. Right. And this is what's going to happen. They're going to get blown out.
Ev, I want to piggyback a little bit on what Rev just said, because I think a lot of people still have the tendency to say, hey, you got to take each week for what it is. You have to take it one game at a time. Great teams are due for a letdown. And I think the thing I constantly see, and I think Rev alluded to that, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars game a year ago. I think everybody's waiting for a game like that from Buffalo because we haven't seen it yet. When you look at this game today, and when you look at the totality of the Bills' body of work this season, is a game like that, in your opinion, something that you expect to see at some point this year, maybe even today, or is that something you've completely eradicated from your mind?
I mean, no matter how good an NFL team is, you're always going to have some up and downs throughout the season, and there's always the chance that a quote-unquote trap game could happen. I mean, it can happen no matter how good of a team you are compared to how bad of a team you're going to be playing. But with this Bills team right now, with the way we're rolling and the way we've been moving throughout this season, I don't think there is going to be a quote-unquote trap game anytime soon. There's no reason for me to believe that there would be. Now, this Jets team is a much better Jets team than past Jets teams in the past, probably over the last 10 years per se. The defense is rolling. The special teams is really solid. But this offense for the Jets really isn't anything over the top to really make me believe that they could win this game and this could be a trap game for the Bills to go into. Just the way the Bills have been playing, they've been playing really good football in all three phases of, offense, special teams, and defense. So right now with the Jets, better team, really well-coached team. I'd really like their defense, but their offense doesn't do it for me. And for that reason, I don't think the Bills are going to have a lapse offensively like they did last year against the Jags for this to be a really low-scoring game and just kind of put themselves into that trap game type of sense, if that makes any sense there.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I think where you were alluding to here is the fact that, this game is between a dominant team in the Bills and a team in the New York Jets who they're not nearly on the level of the Bills currently, of course, but based on past years, this isn't perhaps an easy of a win as it would have been last year, the year prior, etc. The offense for the Jets has to be the biggest concern. They lose Elijah Vera Tucker, their best offensive lineman, and then, of course, Breece Hall, who was their best player on this team. It was the reason they were moving the ball on offense. With Breece Hall gone, this offense is completely different. And with the way Zach Wilson has been playing, you have to wonder how they're going to be able to move the ball and score points against the best defense in the league in the Buffalo Bills. But that defense is banged up today, and here's the inactives that came out just about 10 minutes ago from the Buffalo Bills Twitter. So we already knew earlier in the week, Jordan Poyer not playing today. Matt Milano, who had not practiced much this week, he will not be out there today. Those hoping to see Tre'Davious White make his return, he will not today as well. He is inactive. So let's start on the defensive side, Ev. Go back to you here. Poyer out, Milano out, Tre'Davious White out. Are those three inactives causing you to be a bit more concerned how this defense approaches a Jets team today that has had a real tough time moving the ball? Or are you still confident in the Bills defensive unit without those three players?
Well, I mean, first of all, we've had Tre'Davious White out for the entire season already and most of the back half of last season. So we already kind of know how this defense is going to play without an all-pro premier corner in Tre'Davious White. And they've played phenomenal, a top three unit all across the board. So I'm not worried about Trey White being out again. I'd rather have him rest up and get into his own, really kind of rolling into the back half of the season to playoffs. Now, Jordan Poyer, we've seen Jordan Poyer out a couple times this season, and we know what we're going to kind of get in the secondary when you have a guy like him out. We have DeMar Hamlin and Jaquan Johnson, two young guys, but now at the deadline, the Bills made a move to bring back a former veteran safety in Dean Marlowe. And now Dean Marlowe knows this system very well. He's glad to be back here. And we know what Dean Marlowe can do. He's a veteran presence in the back end. And I think he will actually take some snaps in place of Jordan Poyer today. So I think we're going to get an interesting approach from McDermott and Frazier with Marlowe back in the lineup. And Milano, it's already been reported that Terrell Bernard will be getting the start in place of Matt Milano. And I think this is a huge get for the rookie. you guys know I was a huge Terrell Bernard fan coming out of college. I really like the way he plays the game and the way he approaches it. He's kind of like that Matt Milano build in a sense. He's the closest thing we got to Matt Milano if you want to take another guy and put him in place of Milano. And again, we know how impactful Milano has been on this defense all season long, making huge TFLs, making big plays on guys like Patrick Mahomes, which have led to game-winning interceptions. Milano's had 2 picks on the year. He's got a career high of 3. He's on pace to maybe tie that or even break that for his career high. He's had an outstanding season. He's an all-pro in his own right, but he will be out this game. And, guys like Terrell Bernard are going to have to step up, and guys like Dean Marlowe or Jaquan Johnson are going to have to step up as well in place of the guys that we have inactive. So we have a couple injuries. Does it really shape how I think we're going to go into this game? Not too much, because we've been dealing with injuries all year long, and that's kind of been the season for the Bills. We've been dealing with injuries, and we have to get past that. I think this is just another step for us to get past and really show how capable of a team we are in this game.
This team has done a terrific job showcasing just how deep they are, and today's another opportunity to do that. You are missing Poyer and Milano, who, without Tre'Davious White being in the lineup the last year or so, you've realized just how important those two are to this defense. I personally believe Matt Milano's been playing a defensive player of the year type season. And then, of course, Jordan Poyer, second in the NFL on interceptions. Those are 2 big losses, but they are playing perhaps the worst offense in the league today. So you have to think, based on what the depth showcased by the Bills has been this season, there isn't too much to be worried about, but we will see if the Jets can take advantage of those injuries on the defensive side of the ball for the Bills, but a tall task nonetheless. Rev, let's switch from the injuries to additions. This week is going to be the first time we get to see the newest addition to this Buffalo Bills offense, and that is Nyheim Hines. I want you to talk to me a little bit about what you thought about the move, then how you think he's going to be incorporated into this offense, not only today, but as the season goes forward. The Bills really felt they needed to make a move at the running back position. They did so about 3 minutes before the deadline this past week. Here is Nyheim Hines to join this already potent Bills offense. What do you expect to see out of the newest addition in the Bills backfield today at 1 o'clock?
Man, you know what? I actually love the addition of Nyheim Hines. The reason being is because when you look at the type of we've seen it throughout this offseason, right? We've seen what Brandon Beane has really been looking at. He's kind of been telling us with the whole JD McKissick thing that went down, right? And then they went ahead and got Duke Johnson. And then in round 2, he drafted James Cook. We see the stereotype of back that he's looking for to add to this running back room along with Devin Singletary. And that's a back that has receiving chops with speed. And so when you're looking at the trade deadline, plus we hear rumors and rumblings out of just from all over sources about them being interested or looking into CMC. Why wouldn't they, right? What kind of a back is he? Explosive receiving back. And then word out about Kamara. I'm not too sure how legit that was, but nevertheless, they were talking about adding a running back of that caliber with that type of skill set. And so when they look at Nyheim Hines and bring him on, it is a perfect seamless fit, in my opinion, because he fits that bill. He is a receiving back with a lot of experience in the National Football League, and you pair him with Motor Singletary, it just bodes well. I know people are waiting to see more out of James Cook. He's a rookie. He's flashed, but he's not quite ready to take that step just yet. You want somebody who has more pelts on the wall, so to speak. Nyheim Hines can bring that, but not only for this year, but you look at in the future, because I'm very interested to see what Brandon Beane is going to do next year, considering that Devin Singletary is in the final year of his contract. I don't foresee Motor coming back next year with the addition of Nyheim Hines. I know that we can get out of that deal, but I just think that with the money that he's paying Nyheim Hines, I don't think that you're going to pay Motor Singletary as well next year, because according to Spot Track, I looked it up, I think last week, they have an average market value for him as 5 years, 3 years, $15 million, so to speak. So about 5 years plus, $5 million plus per year. So I don't think that Brandon Beane is going to take that market value and take that hit, plus Nyheim Hines is $4 million or whatever the case may be, in the running back room. So I think that Motor Singletary, we're going to get the best out of him this year because he's trying to get that bag. And then we move on from him. We slide Nyheim Hines in along with James Cook, which would be a very potent running back room. Because when you look at it, You look at you. We know that the Buffalo Bills, first and foremost, they are not a run first team. They are a passing team. And when you look at the running game so far, it's been it hasn't really been as good as we wanted it to be. And so you look at these quick dump offs, which is an extension of the ground game. But when you add guys like Nyheim Hines and then you pair him with James Cook in the future, you have guys who can be used all over the place. They're not just going to be lined up in the backfield. You can use them, motion them out of the backfield, line them up in the slot as receivers, and they can destroy certain matchups. So this is going to be an incredible asset to the Bills going forward, and I can't wait to see what Josh Allen is going to do with him, maybe even as soon as today's game.
Yeah, the whole running back situation in general right now is interesting. Devin Singletary in a contract year. Nyheim Hines comes in. They have a potential out, the Bills do, on Nyheim Hines in 2023 if they wish to take advantage of that. But as of now, it looks like he'll be with the team up until 2025 when he becomes a free agent. But the biggest interest I have when it comes to the running back dilemma, so to speak, it's James Cook. You look around the league right now. Before injury, Breece Hall was playing potentially offensive rookie of the year type ball. Incredible displays of running from young running backs this season out in Seattle, of course. We've seen the young running back group really emerge this year, but we haven't seen the opportunity for James Cook to be able to display that for Buffalo. They have not utilized him the way a second-round pick should be utilized, so you think. Now, I know your point is completely accurate, Rev, when you're talking about this team not being a run-first offense, and they never will be with Josh Allen, but these guys are in this locker room, Nyheim Hines and James Cook at least, to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield and amplify Josh Allen's game. I want to see more of James Cook. We did see more of him than we've seen all season a week ago against the Packers, but even that hasn't been nearly enough, I would think, to showcase exactly what he brings to this team. So moving forward, that's the thing that I look forward to seeing the most. Evan, in your opinion, talking about this running back room, seeing what the young running backs around the league have been able to do for their teams this season, the James Cook situation, what do you make of it all? And do you expect to see him emerge into a bigger role? Or are you with Rev where you think it's going to take more time and that's something we see not this season, but more so in the future?
Yeah, I'm going to probably have to agree with Rev on that, where it's going to take a little more time than many Bills fans would want to get James Cook involved. And, when I think of second round picks that have been drafted by Brandon Beane, I take a look back a couple years ago with the likes of AJ Epinesa and Carlos Boogie Basham, and I get these guys play different positions, and especially on the different side of the ball on defense. But these are another, group of second round picks that simply have not gotten playing time because there's other guys in front of them. And they want to kind of develop them and slowly get them involved within this offense. And I know James Cook has shown flashes. I mean, we saw last week against the Packers, look at what James Cook can do with the football in his hands. I mean, we also saw, against some other teams as well, that he's done some really nice things as well. But I think it's going to take a little longer for a guy like James Cook to really cement himself involved in this offense. And again, there's a lot of rookie running backs in the league right now with Kenneth Walker in Seattle, Dameon Pierce with the Texans, and also, like you mentioned, Z-Bot, before Breece Hall went down. Breece Hall, Rico's guy, right before he went down with the ACL injury, he was, lighting up the league and tearing it up. So those are three rookie running backs that have been sensational thus far. And I think Bills fans want to see James Cook get to that type of spot. But he can't if he's not getting the work and he's not getting the touches and the playing time on the field. And again, when you bring in a guy like Nyheim Hines, we all know Nyheim Hines right out of the get is probably going to be on special teams working some sort of the return game because the Bills want to, throw more on the plate of Khalil Shakir offensively. So Nyheim Hines will be taking punt return duties.
Yeah.
But I also think, Nyheim Hines is going to be shelled into this offense as well. And with a guy like James Cook being the third RB now, I just don't see him having that ability to get on the field right now. And it's probably going to have to be a situation next year, like you mentioned, Rev, where Singletary isn't going to get the money he wants from Buffalo, and the backfield next year would be Hines and Cook. So that's kind of where I see Cook's development is more of a next year situation. We'll see some flashes throughout the back half of the season in playoffs, but just simply not right now.
It is.
Yeah, and I'll add to this, Z-Bot, if you don't mind, real quick. Because I get the whole thing about wanting to see James Cook. I understand that. I mean, he's shown flashes, and we saw last week that 40-yard pass that he got from Josh Allen. We see that's the reason why he was drafted in round 2. He can provide much more of that. But, and here's the thing: we know Brandon Beane doesn't just look for this year, but he looks for years beyond, right? And so he even said, you remember he was being interviewed by what's his name? Man, I forgot the guy's name. McAfee, yeah, on Pat McAfee show, yeah, and he said that he's had his eyes on Nyheim Hines for a while, and alluded to him as being kind of like the Emmanuel Sanders type of thing, where he saw him and wanted to get him in years past, but wasn't able to do it. But now he was able to do it. You get him because you already, in my opinion, have an idea of where you're going forward with the running back room with Motor Singletary. He's probably already made his decision that he's not going to bring Motor back next year. And Nyheim Hines being the guy that he's always wanted, he had the opportunity to get him and guarantee that he got him rather than wait in free agency to try to get him like that, because I think Nyheim Hines would have been a free agent at the end of this year. But so he went ahead and pulled the trigger, got him on the squad now, and then you pair him with a guy. And here's the thing, James Cook, yeah, he has flashes, but he's a rookie. But why not give him a guy with the same skill set who can mentor him and develop him, a guy that he can learn from? Who on this team shares the same skill set that Cook can really look to and be like, you know what, I can learn from him? There's nobody. Motor, I mean, he brings his own type of a game. Moss, we know what he brought. So there's really nobody. I mean, Duke Johnson on the practice squad, right? But so you bring in a guy like Nyheim Hines, and he can provide exactly what James Cook is looking for, and you'll have that kind of a backfield going forward next year and beyond. So I get the whole need and desire to see more of James Cook this year because I'm one of them. But when you get a guy like Nyheim, when you get a chance to bring Nyheim Hines on the squad, it tells me that they're looking at him having more of an impact on this offense beyond this year.
And also to that point, who says the Bills won't deploy 3 running backs on the field? Who says that the Bills at some points in times won't keep Hines?
Yeah,
they'll keep Hines and Cook on the field at the same time, because not only are these two very explosive in their own rights. I mean, Hines runs a 4.38 and James Cook is just right in the sub 4.4. They both can receive. I mean, since 2018 coming into the league, Nyheim Hines is 5th in receiving yards out from all running backs with just about 1,700, and he can play the slot really well. And James Cook, we all know that he can be a receiving threat out of the backfield. So if you have a guy like Hines in the slot, you can motion him in and out of the backfield. And you can have another guy like James Cook to the right of Josh Allen doing some of the similar things. That just really confuses the defense. And we could also keep Cook as a main running back, and you can just throw Hines all around the line of scrimmage, kind of like that Isaiah McKenzie type role. He can run those end arounds. He can run those jet sweeps. He can do a lot. So Nyheim Hines is a very versatile player. And yes, he will take a lot of field time away from a guy like James Cook. But also it can do some things to open up James Cook, because when you're looking at a guy like Nyheim Hines, you're so focused on what he's going to do. He's moving all around the field. That can open up some running lanes for a guy like Cook.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And Beane, I mean, he told everybody what he wanted in the backfield by saying, and I quote, he said, a couple of summers ago, I believe it was a COVID summer, I really did not feel like we had that piece in the backfield for Josh Allen.
And the thing is that, to your point, Rob, that's the thing that interests me the most. They still obviously don't feel that way. The uncertainty at the running back position has been glaring for this Bills team. They have cycled through now how many guys, if you want to include J.D. McKissick as far as being one of those guys who was on the team for 5 seconds before the trade fell through. They wanted him, right? Didn't happen. They've had Devin Singletary. Of course, Zach Moss was getting time before they dealt him. You go on to Nyheim Hines. You also draft James Cook as high as you do this past offseason. I don't quite understand right now what exactly the game plan is. If they did draft James Cook to be that guy to fill the role they were hoping to get out of J.D. McKissick, which is more so of being a running back who supplements your pass game as opposed to being the workhorse, which the Bills do not need, nor would they utilize if they had one. I just wonder, and this is the question I have with James Cook as we move forward here and have seen the lack of utilization out of him. Like we mentioned earlier, Dameon Pierce taking over the league, Kenneth Walker playing incredible for Seattle. Of course, Breece Hall was potentially the offensive rookie of the year before he got hurt with the Jets. James Cook was drafted to be one of those type of guys for Buffalo. They have not put him in a position to do that. I wonder if that's more so him not being capable of doing it, or the Bills just not putting him in the spot to do it quite yet. When we've seen him get opportunities, it looks impressive. Now I wonder, his first NFL snap was a fumble. We know McDermott,
right?
When stuff like that happens, it's tough to get out of the doghouse. I just wonder what exactly the plan is at this given moment. But you bring in Nyheim Hines. I do like the acquisition because it shows you that in this current state of the NFL, and we've seen this from plenty of teams, especially the teams who are in position to get to the Super Bowl, you cannot sit on your hands. No matter what you have, no matter what you feel like is adequate enough for your team, you continue to make moves. And when I saw the Nyheim Hines move, my initial thought was, hey, why not? You're not currently satisfied with what you have. Nyheim Hines has shown, like you said, Rev, that he is that guy in the backfield that you can rely on to swing the ball out to through the pass game. If he's available, giving up what they did for him, why not take a chance? And, of course, they bring him in, and Josh Allen and Diggs had spoken on how truly fast he is, which is awesome to hear. It sounds like he's clicked immediately. But you can see what kind of a spark it brings in when you have a guy that's not only a veteran, but a guy that these guys can clearly see initially right off the bat and say, hey, like, we can rely on this guy if needed. And I think it's a good opportunity today to get a look at what you can get out of a guy like Nyheim Hines, because, you've had a full week with him now, and with the rotational players you have in Singletary and James Cook, you are able to rotate him in without having to fully rely on him. So I think today we do see a decent amount of him, and I'm interested to see what that winds up looking like. Because, Evan, today, you're playing a team in the Jets who a lot of people overlook, and I think that that's fair because of the way that they have won games and, of course, how non-potent, I guess the word would be, their offense is. But this defense, Ev, that's no joke. Today wouldn't be a cakewalk for Nyheim Hines to walk into this game and get an easy catch me up to this offense. This defense is legitimate. When you look at this game today and you look at not only the running back position, but of course what the Bills have going on in the air, what do you look at today out of the Jets defense that you think can give them an edge over the Bills offense to keep this game competitive? Because in reality here, if the Jets want to keep this game close, it's going to solely fall on the shoulders of this young defense.
Well, yeah, you mentioned young defense, and then they have playmakers on all three levels of the football, all three levels of the defense. And the one I'm going to, start with in particular is their third overall pick, their number one draft pick in Sauce Gardner. I would be delusional not to when talking about the Jets defense if I didn't mention their best player in number one. He wears number one, Sauce Gardner. On the season in just man coverage is what I think really sets the Jets defense apart from one another, is when they got a guy in Sauce Gardner that play by himself on an island when you can just leave him out on the field against a number one receiver. Right now, Sauce Gardner is number one pass yards allowed in man coverage with only 26 allowed. Tied number one passing touchdowns allowed, 0. He's not allowed a single touchdown on the season in man coverage. Number one in first downs allowed in man coverage with only just 2. And number one in forced incompletions with 2. This guy has been sensational all season long in man coverage, and it's really just another reason or another way the Jets can, deploy him on defense is they can just leave him by himself on an island. Kind of like back in the day, they had Revis Island. Now they can do that with Sauce Gardner. They can just leave him one-on-one, no safety over the top, and just say, Sauce, we know how good you've been one-on-one in man coverage all season long. We're gonna, match you up one-on-one with one of their number one guys. Go after him and really do your thing and show why we drafted you number 3 overall in this past year's draft. And he's been doing that thus far, and he's arguably been the best corner in football this year. And I hate to say this just because I'm a Bills fan. I really don't like, complimenting other teams' top players, but Sauce Gardner is up there with the likes of Trey White, Xavier Howard, Jalen Ramsey, AJ Terrell, Pat Surtain. He's up there. He's one of the best corners in the league, and he's showing it at an early age and so early on in his career. And he's just one of those players that can really put this Jets defense over the top and really makes them different from others, having a number one corner that can play man coverage on an island by himself.
No question about it. But Rev, he's got to go against perhaps the best wide receiver.
Yeah, I've been waiting for it.
Diggs and Brew Crew Fishing saying, "Morning, boys, let's effing go." He's directing that to us, but we should redirect that to Stephon Diggs right today.
Right.
He's going against a guy that Evan is not being, hyperbolic here. That guy, Sauce Gardner, right? He is the guy. He's got the sauce, so to say.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about the
rep sauce.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he does.
I don't know if it's that good, but it's pretty good, right? But we're talking about a Jets team here who I said right after the draft, I said, no debate, best draft in the league. The New York Jets really did a terrific job piling up pieces for the future for this young team to grow into a contender. I think this year they got off to even a better start than any of the most optimistic Jets fan could have imagined. Sauce Gardner really being at the forefront of that. He's been everything they expected him to be, and all the statistics I've rattled off just goes to show you how great he's been. But he's going to have as tough a task as he'll have all year against Stephon Diggs, and we have seen him cook some of the best cornerbacks in this league. So, Rev, talk to me. What do you expect to see from Diggs today against one of the tougher challenges he'll have this year against a Sauce Gardner, a young rookie guy coming in with something to prove against one of the league's best?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you've got to respect guys, right? I mean, they're good for a reason. And there's a reason why the Jets drafted him number 3 overall. He's a very good player, showing everybody that he's here and he's going to be here for a long time. I get it. Much respect to Sauce, but let's pump the brakes a little bit, okay? Until we see him against Diggs, who, by the way, is ranked number 3 in the league, top dogs in the league with the likes of Tyreek Hill and Cooper Kupp in receiving, 764 yards receiving, 7 touchdowns. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, he may be tied for leading the league in touchdowns.
Yep,
right.
He's with Kelsey.
So Diggs is that man. Sauce has not faced a guy like this right here before. And he's an incredible route runner, probably one of the best route runners in the National Football League right now. It's going to be we need to flip the script, man. I get respecting other players, but it's time for us to flip it to them. Look, Sauce better be ready for Diggs. Instead of saying, Diggs got to be ready for Sauce. I mean, Sauce is not this, he's that. Look, Sauce better make sure as a rookie is ready for one of the top 3 receivers in the league right now. I'm expecting Allen, and this is that alpha dog in Josh Allen and the Bills offense with Ken Dorsey leading the way. I expect Dorsey to make Allen target Diggs early and often. We're not going to just ignore Diggs because, Sauce is covering him. Man, forget that. We're going to test the rookie early. Throw the ball to Diggs, get him involved early and often. Let's see if Sauce is that guy to lock up Diggs, because they got a whole lot of game to play, and I'm not too sure that the rookie's up for it.
And one other thing I want to mention as well, while talking about Sauce Gardner, is I forgot to mention that he doesn't really follow, the leading receiver. So he kind of plays on one side of the field. And that'll be interesting to see what Robert Saleh and this defense does, just because we all know that Ken Dorsey likes to move Stephon Diggs around, whether that's, motioning him from the far side to the near side somewhere in the slot. We like to move around Stephon Diggs, and not saying that Sauce Gardner is going to be moving all around, traveling with Diggs the entire game. But if you see Stephon Diggs going up against their number 2 corner in DJ Reed, and, he's kind of working him a little bit, getting first downs, converting the sticks, maybe they're like, okay, we're going to take Sauce and we're going to just travel him with Diggs and try to limit and negate Stephon Diggs' production. So it's going to be interesting to see what this defense does, with Stephon Diggs matched up potentially against a guy in Sauce Gardner.
So we're talking about this matchup here, fellas. And last week, you could argue that the game against the Packers was as favorable for the Bills as today is. It was pretty much the same spread. The Jets have been playing better football than the Packers. Let's face it. I mean, that's just the reality here. And the Bills
beat them as well.
Exactly right. They beat them worse than the Bills did. 27-10, the Jets beat the Packers. The Bills go into this one. I mean, last week, first half, couldn't have played better. That was Buffalo Bills football to a T. They rack up 24 points. They're blowing out Green Bay. And then we've seen one of the worst halves of football out of that Buffalo Bills team that we've seen in a while, especially on offense. And that's the last time we saw this team. They come in today. And you could argue that Josh Allen's second half of football last week was one of the worst he has played in some time. There's a crowd out there right now that is gearing up for a potential letdown like they do every week against a team that is inferior to the Buffalo Bills. Rev, I'm going to start with you. Everybody was unimpressed, of course, with the offensive performance in the second half last week. Is there anything about that second half that concerns you going into this game that you think might trickle over, or do you see the reset button being hit today, Bills back on track, nothing to worry about?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The only thing that would have brought some concern would have been the rush defense. That was the only thing. And I get it, we understood that Green Bay didn't really have a passing game at that time, and so they were going to run the ball, and the defense was willing to allow them to do that, even though it was too much for my liking and even Leslie Frazier's liking. But their run game right now, minus Breece Hall, is completely different. I'm not concerned about Michael Carter and James Robinson at all. I don't foresee them having any gas whatsoever in the rush defense department this game. And that, in my opinion, is the only way that this Jets team is going to be able to stop the Bills, is if they can run the ball, because we know the teams, this is what they want to do. The only way you're going to beat them is if you can try to limit their possessions, the offensive possessions. You keep Josh Allen on the sidelines, run the ball, run the clock out, have long extended drives to keep the game close. That's the only way that you can possibly win outside of the Bills just beating themselves up. But if you don't have a run game without Breece Hall, I don't know how it's going to happen. And I don't foresee it happening whatsoever.
Ev, similar point to you. You obviously saw what happened last week in the second half. Let's talk about Josh Allen specifically. Of course, the big point everybody wants to make every time Josh Allen has a non-MVP type half. Oh, Sugar Rush Josh Allen back. It's just something to be concerned about. In my opinion, of course, I look at that and say, you take the good with the bad with Josh Allen, and it's overwhelmingly more good than bad. But the way he plays is going to lead to errant throws like he showcased last week in the second half. Plus, you can't help but think they got a bit complacent against a Packers team that they were running out of the building. Here they come today against a Jets team that Josh Allen's had a lot of success against, but this defense is as good as a defense as they're going to face all season. What do you want to see from Josh Allen today to help him get back on track after a real rough second half against Green Bay last Sunday night?
I think it's just simply put, he just has to be himself, not overcomplicate things. Like the one throw in particular, when Josh Allen tried to dirt the ball in the red zone on like the 4-yard line or so, just overcomplicating things, just trying to do too much. I would say Josh Allen, he knows that he has to either dirt that ball or simply just throw it out of play, and just trying not to overcomplicate things in general. Like Josh Allen knows he wants that play back. I mean, you saw him in, the post-game presser. He was just like, that was a stupid throw. I have to be better on that. I got to get that out of my system. I got to just do simpler things and not turn over the football at that point in time. And Josh knows that. And I mean, we've went this through with Josh, for the last, 4 to 5 years now. Josh will make a simple mistake and he'll correct it. Yeah. And then the next game, not saying he's going to play a perfect game of football. There's going to be a few throws that you're looking at Josh Allen. You're like, all right, man, you like to make that one. But again, got to take the good with the bad. Josh Allen is going to make much more good plays than bad ones. And another throw that I really want to highlight is the first interception in the Packers game, where he was rolling out to the right and trying to make a play over the middle to what I believe was Gabe Davis. And he had Davis to an extent, but he threw the ball a little too low, and it just got undercut by the linebacker in Devondre Campbell. And Josh knows that, like, hey, that was a stupid throw. I'm going to come back from that one and make better throws throughout the rest of the game. And he does that to an extent most of the time. You got to take the good with the bad. 9 out of 10 times, Josh Allen makes that throw, and it's a first down, touchdown, or a big play. But that time, it was the 1 out of the 10 where, hey, I made a bad throw. It's going to happen. You're going to have to take the good with the bad with Josh Allen. And I mean, people say this all the time. He's kind of like Brett Favre. I mean, I was a little too young to really watch the whole Brett Favre thing, but Brett Favre's a gunslinger. He throws the ball everywhere. Again, you're going to have some up and down moments with Josh Allen, but it's going to be mainly up, not too many down. So that's just what it is. Just simplify things a little bit. Don't overcomplicate things. Just like dirting the football, just try to dirt it a little more shorter and not throwing it to Alexander's hands.
Let's flip it over to the other side of things as far as the quarterback position is concerned. Zach Wilson really, really struggling. So much so, I mean, a quarterback's really struggling when their own fan base is just had enough. And if you've taken a deep dive into Jets Twitter at any point recently, a lot of Jets fans have just had it. They feel like a lot of the rest of the NFL fans feel, where you watch Zach Wilson, and it is a tough watch. He single-handedly puts that team in a real rough spot many times. And last week, you could argue he single-handedly lost that game for him the way he was playing. I look at Zach Wilson, and I got to tell you, over the last couple of years of football, what he's doing right now is some of the worst display at the position I have seen in some time. It's just, it's errant. A lot of it is very careless. His decision-making is just not what it should be. And he's facing against a Bills defense today that is easily one of, if not the best in the league. Now, Rev, I look at Zach Wilson and I look at what he's shown throughout, his early career here, but more importantly, this season, he is one of the worst quarterbacks in the league against the blitz. Now, the Bills do not send the blitz often at all. They're one of the, they're on the lower end of things in the NFL as far as teams who do send the blitz. If you're Leslie Frazier today, seeing what you're going against, a Zach Wilson-led offense without their best offensive player in Breece Hall, without their best offensive lineman in Elijah Vera-Tucker, are you flipping the script and sending the house today, or are you sticking with what's got you this far already this season?
No, I'm sticking with it because I don't see any reason why we need to switch it up because who are their offensive weapons, right? I mean, that really brings any kind of fear or concern in them that says, we have to come after him early and often. I think that the defensive line, and I think this is by design, the offseason acquisitions and the whole revamping of the defensive line was done to be able to rush and get to the quarterback with only the front four and drop everybody else back in coverage. So unless we're not able to get to Zach Wilson with the four, I see us keeping things as we've done all season long. There's no way I don't see Von Miller, Greg Rousseau, Ed Oliver, Jordan Phillips not being able to get in the backfield. And if not sack Zach Wilson, at least make him scared, get him off of his spot and rush some throws so that way the secondary can have some opportunities for some interceptions. I just don't see the offense of the Jets being able to stop the front four of the defense at all.
Evan, if you're Mike LaFleur, the offensive coordinator for the New York Jets, you're going into this game, you're facing off against one of the league's best defenses, and Zach Wilson has really struggled. And, of course, you're missing your best asset. You can't run the ball the way you were earlier in the season. What's the game plan here? Because the only way you're going to be able to keep it competitive with Buffalo is to be able to move the ball to the point where you're milking the clock down, and you also cannot be turning the ball over. And these are two things ever since Breece Hall has gone down that the Jets have struggled with. So you're Mike LaFleur, the task at hand. What do you think a strategy that the Jets could implement would be today to be able to somehow try and keep this game competitive and not out of hand, keeping the Jets somewhat in the game up until the end?
Well, yeah, on the offensive side of the ball, I mean, Zach Wilson has struggled, like you mentioned, ever since Breece Hall has went down on the season. He's got 3 touchdowns to just 5 interceptions. And I will say the first quarter against the Patriots last week, they looked really good. Zach Wilson was throwing good footballs. They were running the football pretty well. But after that, it just kind of went away. And it went away because of the blitz getting to Zach Wilson. But offensively, I think they're going to have to run the football efficiently, and they're going to have to throw quick hitters and really get Zach Wilson comfortable against this Bills defense. Simply put, I mean, Corey Davis is out. Breece Hall is out. Arguably right now, those are probably the 2 best offensive pieces on the Jets offense. And one's out for the season and one's out for just a little bit due to injury. But now they have a guy in Garrett Wilson, their rookie receiver, drafted in the first round. Right now, he's second in receiving yards all among rookies, and he's got 34 receptions and 2 touchdowns coming into this game. He's been really solid. So I think getting a guy like Garrett Wilson involved could be really, impactful for this Jets offense. And they also have a really solid, reliable tight end in Tyler Conklin, who's been really solid and steady for them all season long. So just getting your playmakers involved early, I think, is something that the Jets have to do against this Bills defense. The Jets probably should attack our rookies. To be honest, I think Wilson should go after Kyer Elam. I think Wilson and Mike LaFleur should try to go after Terrell Bernard with guys like Garrett Wilson potentially in the slot lined up, Elijah Moore, or, even just running the football right at them. So that in general is just probably attacking the rookies and, maintaining good possession on the offensive side of the ball and just keeping Josh Allen off the field. But again, if you keep Josh Allen off the field, you got to play some good, steady defense. And I know the Jets have a good defense, but is there really such thing as a good defense against Josh Allen? So just on the offensive side of the ball, just do things steady. Don't overcomplicate things. Get Zach Wilson in a comfortable setting. And then that's the way you'll be able to move the football against this Bills defense. It will be hard. It will be really hard for a rookie quarterback that wants to take downfield shots to play the patient game of offense against this Bills defense. But it's something you're going to have to do, and Wilson is going to have to be poised enough to do that today at 1:00.
Yeah, and to your point, Evan, about Zach Wilson needing to take some shots, I think it was reported earlier this morning. I think it was Ian Rappaport or someone was talking about Robert Saleh had mentioned to Zach Wilson that he wants him to be aggressive today. So I think we're going to see an aggressive attempt by Zach Wilson to target the rookies, to target the safeties, right, with the absence of Jordan Poyer. But at the end of the day, he's going to have to stay in the pocket, and he's going to have to hope that his offensive line is going to be able to protect him against the front four pass rush of the Buffalo Bills defense. Even though we don't have Jordan Poyer, even though we don't have Tre'Davious White, I still would take Kyer Elam, Dane Jackson, Christian Benford, Jaquan Johnson, DeMar Hamlin, over these guys, including Dean Marlowe, probably that we'll see in spot duty today, to be able to hold down the fort in the back end. And that's going to prevent Zach Wilson from being as aggressive as he wants to be this game. And plus, I think there's going to be pressure in his face that's going to keep it from happening as well.
Just about 40 minutes until the kickoff between the Bills and the Jets. Over 250 of you in here. Absolutely love it. Getting pumped up for game day. Make sure to hit that like button for us when you get the chance. Here we are, boys. We're, like I just said, about 40 minutes or so from kickoff. And it's time to get down to what we think is going to happen today. And before we do that, let's bring in Kev Syracuse, who joins us for the latter half of this one. Kev, welcome in, my brother. Perfect timing because we're going to go through each one of our predictions here and kind of lay out what we think is going to happen today. So, Kev, let's start with you. I mean, let's get it right into it. What do you expect to see today that leads to the ultimate outcome from not just the Bills, but the Jets? And ultimately, what do you think we wind up seeing at around 4:00 this afternoon, and how do we wind up getting to that outcome?
Well, I was listening to you guys a little bit. My laptop would not load. I just lost service. So I've been sitting here for like 20 minutes just watching you guys. So that was really
man. I know that's no fun.
Yeah. So I agree with what you guys were saying. I think it was Rev who was saying you just have to attack them because Sauce Gardner is saying how he can shut down these top wide receivers. Well, you know what? Let's see it. So I think that the Bills just have to work their offense like they have all year. But I would like to see them sprinkle in the run game because A, I want to see how they interact with Nyheim Hines. And B, if we can wear the Jets defense down, that's going to be key because like you guys are saying, that's their only hope right now is that their defense will keep them in the game. So if you can wear them out while also putting up points, that will prevent them from being able to run the ball on that side of things. And that will force Zach Wilson to have to throw, who has the worst completion percentage when under pressure this year. So I think if the Bills can do that, it could be over by the second quarter. But again, this is the NFL. And like we were saying last week with the Packers, or at least I was on the Twitter space, you never want to take a team too lightly, especially a divisional opponent on the road. But I just think there are a lot of ways that point to the Bills winning big today.
That I completely agree with. I think that's the way I look at it. Rev, talk to me. I think you got a similar feeling, but how do you think the Bills wind up getting there? Is it more of their dominance or is it more of the ineptness from the Jets or a combination of both? What do you expect to see today?
Yeah, I expect to see a combination of both. I really think that the Bills are going to come out on fire. And just work what they've done so far that's gotten them to this point. They don't need to reinvent the wheel. They don't need to come up with anything different, anything special for the Jets. Respect them and all that kind of stuff. But the Bills are going to come out firing on all cylinders. As long as Josh Allen doesn't make those dumb mistakes that he did in the second half of the Green Bay Packers game, which I don't foresee happening ever again. And then the offensive line is able to protect Josh, because I guarantee you right now, we got to look at number 95, Quentin Williams, and that defensive line is going to come after Josh. They're going to try to come after him. If we can keep him protected, it could be a blowout very early, because without the Jets defense slowing down the Bills, the Jets offense does not have enough to keep up with them. So I know they're going to be relying heavily upon their defense. They're just getting Jermaine Johnson back, their rookie defensive end out of Florida State. So he's going to be coming back too. And so this is what it tells me. It lets me know that the Jets are going to be aggressive on defense. They're going to come after Josh Allen. They're going to try to blitz him, throw everything that they can at him, much like the Dolphins did. This is like their big game, right? And so as long as we're able to weather that early storm, because I think it's going to be an early onslaught, I think they're going to really try to come after him and get him off of his spot early on. If we're able to weather that, settle down, and play our type of offense, our type of game, we're going to have it in the bag early.
Scotty Blakely coming in. My brother Scotty's coming in, and he is saying, guys, any modification on game plan by either side with rain and wind gusts up to 20 miles an hour? Thoughts? Hashtag Z-Bot mic cover fun. Scotty, don't listen to Caroline. I have a mic cover, and it does nothing. It's no different. I promise. She's looking for me to get a super chat so I can go buy her lunch. That's what it is.
There you go.
She is, Scotty.
Hey, what's up, Caroline?
Yes,
she is.
You got you, Scotty. You got you. Ev, I'm going to swing that question over to you while you give me your thoughts on the game. In addition to your thoughts on the game, do you expect perhaps, some foul weather in play today at MetLife to play into the game plan, perhaps see the Bills run a bit more, or do you see that as a non-factor?
I mean, with the win, when you got a guy like Josh Allen, this is why you brought in a guy like Josh Allen, was to fight and combat the weather coming at you, whether that's, 15, 20, 25 mile an hour wind gusts. We're still going to throw the football. I will always go back to this point. Last year, when the Bills and Patriots played at the Ralph Wilson Stadium in that whatever game you want to call it, the win bowl, the Bills are still throwing the football with Josh. It didn't matter. 35 plus passing attempts. Josh was always going to throw it. So no matter what the wind, no matter what the weather is, yeah, we might see a little more sprinkled in some run plays, but at the end of the day, it's going to be heavily relying on Josh and his arm. But the way that the Jets probably going to have to attack this game, they're going to have to protect Zach Wilson. And that is going to be hard when they're out 3 starters on the O-line. I mean, they've been without some of these starters all year long, but against the Bills, they're without Mekhi Becton, their starting left tackle. They're without Elijah Vera Tucker, their starting left guard, and they're without their starting right tackle and George Fant. So those 3 guys are out, and the Bills should be able to attack that early and often and play some very aggressive defense, maybe sprinkling in a little bit more blitzes than we've seen all season long from them. I mean, Kevin and Zach, you've mentioned that Zach Wilson is statistically the worst against the blitz all season long. And I wouldn't be surprised if Leslie Frazier and Sean McDermott went, hey, we know how bad Zach Wilson is against the blitz, and we have capable players to get to Zach Wilson and really disrupt his rhythm in the pocket, whether that's Von Miller, Oliver, Epinesa, Rousseau, even a little bit of Terrell Bernard. He's a fast linebacker. So we have plenty of players that can get after Zach Wilson. And I think we do that, especially playing aggressive early on offense and defense. So that's going to be that. And it's going to be interesting to see what the Jets do to combat that. But it's going to be also interesting to see what they do against, this potential 20 mile an hour wind gusts. Because like you mentioned, Rev, Mike LaFleur, the offensive coordinator, and Robert Saleh want Zach Wilson to play aggressive. But can he really play aggressive in this wind? We know he's got a good arm, but does he have the arm to throw the football and get it through the wind? I don't know. I don't think he does. So they might have to have a more balanced offense and run the football and attack us like that and get some quick, easy rhythm throws for Wilson. But I think the Bills are going to play aggressive right out the gate.
The House TV coming in. He's saying, I hate to say this, we needed a dome. We can't catch rocket passes in bad weather. What's Josh's record in a dome? We play like a beast in the dome. The House TV, much respect. Love you, brother, and I appreciate the super chat. But we cannot get into the dome talk again. I simply cannot go down that path again. That was a terrible era of Twitter that I never want to access again. Because
I'm just going to say this. No dome. No dome. No. That's it. I'm keeping it there. I'm keeping it there.
I think, I mean, like Evan just got through saying, I mean, you got a guy, if Josh Allen can't take advantage of the elements, and there's nobody else in the league who can, right? And I think that also is what makes Buffalo Bills football. But I understand your opinion. I think the dome would have made more sense, but hey, you know what? It ain't happening. So let's just pretend that it never was even a possibility. Right.
Josh Allen is weatherproof outside of a crazy hurricane blizzard, and he was still slinging it. You know what I'm saying? So you've got the guy with the cannon. Let's not. I'm not worried. I think he throws balls in 20-mile-an-hour winds.
This is my favorite thing with the Bills offense. McDermott's like, hey Ken, we might have 35-mile-an-hour winds coming to Orchard Park today. What's the game plan? Josh, you ready to sling it 40 times? All right, let's go. I mean, that's the game plan anytime. It's as simple as that.
Right. Yeah, man. We didn't let him throw it, So you got to give him the opportunities, and he'll be able to take advantage. All right, so we're just over 30 minutes till kick. We're about to round this thing out. Before we do, we got to give you our predictions and let you know what we think winds up happening on the scoreboard today in MetLife. So we start with Kevin. Give me your final score prediction and how that the game winds up resulting in that outcome.
I'm going to go Buffalo 38-13. I think that the Jets will get one touchdown. I'll give them 2 field goals just because of the fact that the Bills are without Milano and Trey White, even though they played without him for almost a year now, and Jordan Poyer. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, but I don't think it's going to be too close in that regard. And I think the Bills are going to pour it on, especially in the second half. Do we know what the weather's going to be like as the game goes on? Because if it's raining now,
I think a couple people in the comments mentioned that the rain was supposed to stop around 1:00 at kickoff. If that is true, then expect a little wetness early on, maybe the first few minutes, quarter of the game. But after that, I think we should be pretty solid in the wet department for the rain and move on from that.
Nice. We'll see what happens. Before we get to the prediction, you and
he had the door open for you, Z Valley. I thought you was going to take it.
What was the door? What did I not open? What did he say? Did I miss it?
Yeah, about how wet it's going to be.
I
thought.
I see. Hey, listen. It's a Sunday. We got it. It's a holy day. It's a holy day. Let's just say that. Before we get to Rev's prediction, give me your thoughts in the comments. A lot of you already are doing so, and I think most of you are expecting a beatdown, especially Scotty, who's got the Bills winning 99-0. Hey, you know what? That might not be out of the realm of possibilities. If you watched SMU football last night, I can't believe the amount of points scored in that game. So maybe the Bills channel their inner Mustangs today and get that out on the field. But Rev, talk to me, baby. What do you expect to see today as far as the final outcome is concerned, and how do the Bills wind up reaching that point total that I'm assuming you have being quite high?
Yes, there's no doubt about it. So I said this last week on my show, and I'm gonna say it again. I'm not moving. I've been begging. I've been waiting for a 40 burger for a while now. And they just haven't been able. They've been close.
Haven't touched it since Tennessee. It's been a bit.
Yeah, it's been a while, but I think they're due. And so I love Caroline. Thank you, Caroline. I appreciate it. I love it. 44-6.
Let me tell you what, she's not messing around.
Look, man. Hey, I said it last week, and I'm saying right now. My prediction is Bills 45, Jets 10.
Ooh,
I think it's going to be a huge blowout. A huge blowout. I don't look. What the last time? What is the spread? 11. Right, about 11
and a half last I checked. I don't know what it
is.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. Bills by 35.
I think they're going to explode, right? Because as long as, and I say it again, as long as we're able to watch out for this pass rush, it's going to be ridiculous. The offense of the Jets can't do anything. Nothing. I don't care. That's the reason why we didn't start Trey. The reason why we're okay with Jordan Poyer being out, okay with Matt Milano being out. It's because we are not concerned about the Jets' offense. It's all about Josh Allen and these Bills who are going to lump these Jets up and down the field all day. 45-10. Won't even be close.
Ever, you on the same mindset there, or do you think the Jets keep it a bit closer than the type of blowout that Rev's predicting?
Don't get scared.
So you know what? My original score prediction was 39-13 for the Bills, but I want to go over 40, so I'm just gonna we're gonna get 41. Yeah, 41-13. I don't know how, I don't know when, but we're gonna find a way to get a safety today. It's been a while since the Bills have had a safety, so we're gonna get a safety. And the one thing I really want to preach is the aggressiveness of how the Bills are gonna come out and play today, because they know they left a lot on the field in the second half of that Packers game last Sunday night, and there's a lot more to be played, right? And damn, so right here, I was reading the comments and she goes, damn, Evan, I like to switch up. So that one threw me off. but the Bills are going to come out and play aggressive. And here's my hot take for the game. I really expect the D-line to get after Zach Wilson today. And the one player that needs to have a big game is number 91, the horse rider in Ed Oliver, all the way from Houston, Texas, coming up to MetLife in New Jersey. He's going to have 3+ sacks today against Zach Wilson and the New Jersey Jets. Let's go. Ed Oliver, he needs to have a big game. We know Elijah Vera Tucker, the best interior offensive lineman on the Jets, is not playing. He's been out for a few games. And Ed Oliver, you're going to have to take advantage of that, sir. And he will do today with Ed Oliver getting 3+ sacks against Zach Wilson and the Jets.
Now, when you said safety, the first thing that came to mind is not the Bills getting pressure to force the safety on a sack, but Zach Wilson running about 10 yards out of the back of his own end zone, Dan Orlovsky style. That's what I want to see today at MetLife. I got 34-9 today, fellas. I don't see the Jets getting in the end zone. They barely did against the Patriots last week. I think the Bills have a much more cohesive and better defense than the Patriots, even though the Pats have played well on defense throughout the year. They have had their struggles. The Bills have been consistent on D all year. I do not see how Zach Wilson can take advantage of anything on the offense that he currently has at his disposal to be able to get the point total above single digits. I mean, I know it might be bold here, but when you think about what the Jets currently have on offense, there is nothing there. And you're facing off against the Bills D, who has basically shut down the best of the best in this league. It doesn't matter who they've faced. They have found a way. And today you look at the Jets going against that Bills defense. I just don't see it. And then, like we talked about a lot throughout the show here, fellas, the Bills know that they had a stinker of a second half last week. They are going to want to right the wrongs of that second half today in a divisional game against a Jets team that they would like to show the rest of the world that, hey, their record does not indicate how good they are. It's a bit inflated. And, of course, they are quite down, to say the least, based on what they had earlier in the year with their run game, their offensive line, et cetera. So I got 34-9 today, and I really do think the Bills wind up wrapping this one up early on in the first half. And hopefully they can give us a complete game. I don't want to see them come out and put the stomp on the Jets and then kind of take their foot off the gas. I want to see a complete game. This is a divisional opponent, and they look at that's the whole thing. The Bills are 6-1. The only loss comes from the division. You know, right the ship today. The bulk of your games the rest of the year are divisional games. So get off to a good start here today. Av, before we wrap up, give me your final thoughts here.
And the funny thing is, I'm pretty sure the Bills are still the only team that leads their division to not have a win against a divisional opponent.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So I mean, when you look at it, I mean, again, this is only our second game against a divisional opponent, but I mean, it's just funny to think about that in general, especially when you're 6-1 at the top of the AFC.
Yeah, the rest of their season, for the most part, I think about just
Flacco is scratch.
Games. Yeah, Flacco is scratch. So for those who thought Zach Wilson might get benched today, unless they're putting in Robert Saleh at quarterback, you can expect to see Zach Wilson play the duration of this one.
Poor Zach.
We're about 25 minutes from kick, so we got to go get ready and get our wings in the oven and our TVs queued up for the game here. So for Rev, for Ev, for Kev, I've been waiting to say that the whole show here. You can't beat that. I'm Z-Bot. This has been the BF Tailgate. Appreciate all you guys joining in today. We had a great crowd, almost 300 before we round out here. So love it. And I think all of us are expecting a dominant performance from the Bills today, and I hope we get that. So, fellas, thank you for joining me as always. This is great. And we're going to sign off, we always, with a Go Bills.
Go Bills, baby.
Little jazz hands. Go Bills.
I like that. Go Bills, baby. Enjoy the day, everybody.
Let's get it.
We will talk to you throughout the week here on our respective shows. Go Bills, baby.